Story time about how my husband and my dad got into a fist fight on our wedding day. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I was sending me on Instagram. My dad is in the military, therefore he is super strict. He's never liked any of my boyfriends and especially my fiance. My fiance is a musician, so he sometimes doesn't have a lot of income. So my dad thinks that he's absolutely lazy. I have a really good job and I always end up making a lot more than my fiance. This means that I have to make up for his lack of money. So usually I end up paying for most of the bills and my fiance ends up paying for about a third of our rent. And we do live in a nice fancy apartment. I mean, we've got a pool, a sauna, there's a bunch of amenities, and most of the time my fiance only gives me about $500 towards rent. My dad knows all of these issues, and trust me, it is an issue for me because I want him to be able to provide for me and our babies whenever I get pregnant, but it really irks my dad. But of course, it really bothers my dad. Every time my fiance and I go over to my parents for dinner, my dad is always making comments about how he doesn't earn enough money, and he asks him like, how are you going to provide for your family? And that's when my fiance and him usually get into a fight. Our wedding day was quickly approaching, so I wanted to keep a distance between my fiance and my dad. Everything was good up until the reception. My now husband and I were saying hello to friends. Out of nowhere, my dad tackles my husband down. That's when all hell breaks loose. So my dad body slams my new husband onto the ground. Then of course, all of my husband's friends come attack my dad and try to pull him off of my husband. By the way, my dad is super strong. Like I said in part 1, he's in the army, so he's built and super strong. My dad and my husband were pummeling each other. They were even kicking each other on our wedding day. And yeah, I'm in my wedding dress crying while everyone else is going crazy. Luckily, I invited a friend and her boyfriend is a cop. So he went up to my dad, who was clearly the stronger one in the fight, and was able to restrain him. When they were finally separated, my dad started yelling at my husband, calling him a liar and a cheater. And when I heard my dad say that, my stomach dropped. I knew that my dad had my back and that he probably found out something about my husband. My dad grabs my hand and pulls my mom into a separate room. Then he shows me pictures of my husband with another woman in a parking lot. That's when my dad explained to me that he didn't trust my fiance, so he decided to hire a private investigator to follow him around. Remember in part 1 I said that I was paying for almost everything in our relationship? My dad really hated this, and he was convinced that instead of going to work, my fiance was spending time with another woman. And guess what? He was right. Of course, my dad felt really bad about causing a whole scene, but that's when he told me that we had to annul the marriage. I honestly didn't know what to do at the time, so I told my dad that I needed to speak to my husband. My friend's boyfriend, the cop, was there the whole time. He took my dad out of the room and then brought in my husband. Of course, my mom stayed in the room with me to have some backup, and we grilled my husband for about 20 minutes. First, he denied everything, but when I showed him the picture that my dad showed me, he said it was just a friend. Of course, my mom and I weren't buying it. That's when he finally confessed that it was his old girlfriend and that they were just saying goodbye for one last time. That's when he showed me all the text messages between him and his ex, and everything was pretty innocent. I asked him why he didn't tell me that he was going to go see his ex, and he told me that he just didn't want any drama with my dad. The cop brought my dad back in the room. I asked him to stay inside while my dad and my husband and I talked. I explained to my dad everything that happened, but he wasn't buying his story. My dad kept saying that we just needed to get a divorce. My husband was crying and begging me to forgive him. Then my dad started attacking him again. Once again, the cop had to restrain him and he put him in a chokehold. My dad attacked my husband for a second time. Luckily, my friend's boyfriend, who was a cop, was there and was trying to manage the situation. Basically, we called off the entire reception. So $7,000 right down the drain. My husband and I were supposed to leave that night to Greece. I told my parents we should still go on the honeymoon and they agreed. But obviously my dad was really upset about it. But while we were in Greece, I caught my husband texting his ex again. This woman texted him saying that she missed him. Then he told her about the fight he got into with my dad. Then she said that my whole family is crazy and that he shouldn't have married into it. I confronted my husband and he told me that he needed her as a friend and that I just needed to deal with it. Then I told him that I was the one that paid for basically everything in our relationship, including most of our wedding and our honeymoon, and that he needed to be grateful to me and to my family. That's when he said that he would never speak to my family again. That's when I told him that the relationship wasn't going to work then. Now that we're back home, my parents really want me to get a divorce, but I'm not sure. Obviously, he has feelings for his ex and so does she. But I mean, I still love him. Why should I lose out? My husband is being super distant and barely talks to me. My dad is upset with me too because I haven't gotten a divorce. Should I just file for divorce? What should I do?
I, 30 male, pissed my wife, 27 female off, and now she wants me to do everything. To begin, when I met my now wife, she had about $9,000 in credit card debt. She grew up in poverty, got her first credit card, and got into financial trouble with it. She told me about it pretty early on in the serious phase of our relationship, and even told me about her plan to fix it, showed me her budget, and had a time frame. To her credit, she did it. That was 5 years ago. We're now married with twins. She's a stay-at-home mom, but receives about $1,000 per month in in VA disability and cleans houses part-time while our kids are in school. The $1,000 goes entirely to our mortgage, plus some of the money that she makes cleaning houses because she likes to put extra on the principal. So she has her own spending money. We do have one credit card, mine, of which she is an authorized user. I do stay vigilant about the card because I guess I never really let myself trust her with money. On to the problem. I noticed earlier this week, after years of good financial decisions and fist touch on first graders, and she said only $15 since she got everything at the dollar store. She told me that everything had been returned and now I was in charge of the birthday party, the birthday presents, and the Christmas shopping, and the class Christmas party contribution, since I didn't trust her to do those things. Turns out all those charges were for the kids' birthday and birthday party at the movie theater. Christmas shopping she had actually finished for everyone we usually buy for, and even the salon charges were for our son's haircuts. Now she's returned everything and even has told me grocery shopping is also my job now. I can't handle all that. I didn't even remember it was my kids' birthday soon. How do I fix this so we can go back to how it was? I've already groveled and she just says I apparently have 5 years of groveling to do if all I've been waiting for is the other shoe to drop, when she's been nothing but exemplary when it comes to finances in all this time. Help, please.
Wow. I'm 32 and I've been married to my husband, 39, for 4 years. I work a full-time job while he does a 3 times a week night shift. We have a 2-year-old and I'm 6 months pregnant. My husband has a large family and on every Christmas they gather at his father's house. My father-in-law passed away a year ago, and this year my husband decided as the man of the family to host Christmas at our house. Unbeknownst to me, he signed on invitations for a 5-day Christmas celebration to his entire family, which are about 26 members in total. I found out by accident and I was too shocked to react. I confronted him on it and he said I shouldn't be surprised and just get used to it because after his father's death, he's now the family's head and all major family events will be held in our house and in his presence. I freaked out and said no, this is wrong and he should have talked to me first before sending out any invitations to his family, knowing I have other commitments like work and taking care of the house and our son. He said we'll manage if I took time off of work, but that means more workload later and it would take away from my maternity leave. I demanded he cancel the invitations, but he refused, saying over my dead body, and then walked out. I ended up sending a mass text to everyone who received an invitation explaining that we will not be hosting Christmas this year. He found out and went off on me, calling my behavior outrageously appalling and said that I broke his word to his family and made him look small and with no authority. I, in a very strict tone, replied that I didn't sign up to host a celebration and accommodate 26 people while pregnant, taking care of a toddler, and working. I don't care if he became the head of the family after his father's death because he means nothing to me. He took offense to that and walked out almost crying. He later talked about how I disrespected his father and him with what I said and demanded a handwritten apology for canceling the event. He also wanted me to apologize for being insensitive towards him and undermining his authority in front of his family, but I said no apology from me in any form. The issue is still up, especially with my mother-in-law giving me a stern talk about how out of line I was for disrespecting my husband's decision regarding the holiday celebration with family. Am I the asshole for refusing to apologize to my husband in writing after I canceled all his family invitations to a Christmas celebration at our house?
So this was like a couple of months ago. I had this client come in for a color. Okay, cool. Nice girl and whatnot, but she could not stop looking in the mirror when I was doing her hair. Oh, my mirror's on the right side of me and my client, so she would have to physically move her head to see herself in the mirror. At first, I was a little annoyed because if you didn't trust me doing your hair, why would you book me? So after we got done with the color, I started styling her with my flat iron. As soon as I started straightening her hair, she turned sideways to look at the mirror and I burnt my hand. And it wasn't like a little sizzle burn. It was like a little boil burn. And after she made me burn myself, she just sat there and didn't say nothing. After that, she asked to use the restroom. So she went to the restroom and I decided to move my mirror off my station. I set my mirror on the ground so she couldn't see. And when she came upstairs, she was just looking so confused. So I started finishing her hair and then I just see her little Snapchat camera on, watching me through her camera do her hair. I was so annoyed. Like, even me talking about it right now is annoying. And don't get me started about how she acted when I trimmed her hair, but that's a whole nother story. I don't even feel like talking about it right now. But when I finished her hair, she absolutely loved it. But when she left, I absolutely blocked her.
I told my girlfriend recently that she's pretentious. My girlfriend Anna is 26 and I'm 35. We've been together for almost 5 years now, and this is something that's always bothered me, but I never said anything until recently. Anna is smart and doesn't need to prove it to anyone, but she always seems to go out of her way to do stereotypically smart things. Like, for example, she does the New York Times crossword and Sudoku every day. She can get into trashy reality TV and action movies and stuff, but when I look at her Netflix profile, it's mostly highbrow, artsy, and foreign type movies and TV shows. She also knows a lot of random things about classical music, art, and literature, even though she was a STEM major, and I'm pretty sure she only looks that stuff up so that she can seem more educated and cultured. Over the weekend, my aunt and uncle were visiting from out of town, and my uncle, a college English teacher, kept commenting on what a great book collection we had and asked me what my favorites were. I haven't really read anything off the shelves. I mainly read my tablet and I'm not into classics now that I'm out of high school. And I just mentioned that they were Anna's mostly. Anyway, at dinner he started talking about some book with Anna and I made a joke along the lines of, don't grill her too hard. She just has a bunch of pretentious books so people know she's smart. And both Anna, my uncle, and aunt got mad at me and told me that I was being rude. But I was just being honest, and Anna should know that she does come across as pretentious. Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that she's pretentious?
Okay, I was just getting ready to go out for a drink with a girl that I had met online, and something weird just happened. I literally just did my hair and I was about to do my makeup, and something in my gut was just like, get a picture of her. Obviously she had pictures on her profile and stuff, and it all looked like the same girl, but then I started looking a little bit closer and some of them had like a phone over the face, you know, and so it was like, I'm not sure if that's even the same person. Her account wasn't verified, so I did take a screenshot of one of her pictures and I do have it, but I just messaged her and I was like, hey, can I get like your Snapchat or your Instagram just so I can make sure you're a real person? And we had set a time and place to meet, like I would literally be there right now. But I sent that message and then the next time I went to go and look at our messages, she had unmatched me, like right after I sent it. I don't know if I'm wrong, but oh my gosh. Like I was just gonna go meet someone.
Ex-brother-in-law doesn't want me to treat his kids differently. I, 42 female, spoil my nephew Chris and spend a lot of time with him. Chris is my late sister's son. My sister died when he was 5 after a heart attack, as she had an undetected heart condition. Chris spends a lot of time at our house where my parents, his grandparents, husband, 2 daughters, and 2 sons also live. Chris also has his own room in my house and his own set of keys. He comes and goes as he pleases. Chris also has a great bond with his cousin, who all consider him their brother. As far as my husband and I go, he's also our son and is included in everything that we do and for our kids. He goes with us on all our vacations, and this year my husband and I bought him a car for his 16th birthday, just as we did for our eldest son when he turned 16. My parents and I also plan on paying his way through college, same as his cousin, since ex-brother-in-law could never afford to. Ex-brother-in-law wants me to include his other kids, 2 teenage stepsons and his 2 boys, and a daughter with his wife, into our time with him. His other kids often get jealous of all the attention and money we spend on Chris, and his wife feels like I'm driving a wedge between the kids. Especially their older son Tom also wants a car, but again, ex-brother-in-law and wife can't afford it. They want me to make Chris share his car with Tom. I told them I would not persuade Chris to share. I'm not even gonna lie, but I don't like ex-brother-in-law. I certainly don't like his wife. And their kids are obnoxious, mean little shits. But I obviously never treat them in an unkind manner, and I don't allow Chris to speak to them or about them in a disrespectful manner. Even though I know they constantly exclude Chris, purposely break his things, and make him feel like an outsider. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to consider the other kids ex-brother-in-law has. And at the moment, I don't know how to deal with the situation. And any advice on making Chris's life more comfortable, I'd love.